What's up? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and friends, and everybody tuning in live, and whoever gets the pleasure of tuning in and watching this later. um, we're back. It's as usual, unscheduled. No, not unscheduled, but timing is a little off, but we're here. I've been down and out with the flu or something, and I know Macroverse and team has been extremely busy, but we are back. Happy early Valentine's Day for everyone that'll be celebrating that tomorrow. But I am ready to jump in. We don't have a ton of time tonight. Eben, my friend.
Yoink.
What's up,
I think the most important question to start with, Tiny, is will you be my Valentine? Nice. There we go. Yeah.
I have this, and I have for tomorrow. I'm gonna wear it to work, but it's like a big Hulk smash hand with like a bunch of hearts all over it.
Nice. That's awesome. That is awesome. So yeah, just for anyone that hasn't seen this before, my name is Eben Matthews, CEO and co-founder at Macroverse. This is Tiny Universe, aka Scott Pierpont, and we're gonna just talk a little bit about what's been going on with Macroverse over this past week or two. Been a couple weeks since Tiny's been at death's door, and glad to see him recovered and here with us. This has been a unbelievably crazy year and is only going to continue to be so. So we've been incredibly busy cranking out cool stuff that we can talk about. You know, if you have seen the show before, you know, lots of cool stuff that we can't yet talk about. But this is just going to be a jam-packed year of, you know, cool releases. So excited about all that. Tiny will try to get me to talk about more stuff than I should. And we'll get some updates and places that you can connect into the things that we're doing if any of that is interesting to you. So what is Macroverse? For those that don't know, we're a next generation media company primarily focused on comic books, but now expanding into some new areas, as we'll talk about tonight. Fundamentally, everything we do kind of lives at the intersection of physical, collectible, and digital. And so the places that those three things connect, that's really where we found our sweet spot. We're building an incredible next generation platform, which will launch later this summer. We released a bunch of different comics and a bunch more coming over the course of this year, both originally digitally and now really moving into the physical side and the combination of those things. And then as we'll talk about tonight, we're starting to do some more stuff in the music business with a technology that we created called Mixprint, which is also squarely in that intersection. So it's a little background. Tiny, where do you want to start?
Well, I've got a few things that I want to talk about, but I think the pressing big news is where I want to start. The backdrop. I felt like I used to have this big Wu-Tang shirt, and I wish I still had it because I would have definitely wore it. But I want to talk about Mixprint.
Well, let's do this. Let me see if I can I take both of us down small so I can actually show this, or no? Let's see. Yeah, you're gonna see us jumping around on screen here for a second. Here's what I'm gonna do. I want people to see this for a second, and then we'll talk about it. So I'm gonna just hide both of us for just a moment, so you can see the backdrop, and then we can talk about what it is that you just saw. So everybody get ready. If you're watching later, we're gonna disappear for just a moment. Take in this beauty that is about to assault your eyeballs, and then we'll talk about it. All right, and we're back. So yes, this is from our Mixprint line. Let's actually just explain what Mixprint is for a second. So Mixprint is a technology that we developed, which allows us to create unique variations of basically anything that you can print. And so it's a combination of really specific craft and artistry. Everything that you just saw and that you will see from us for Mixprint is hand illustrated, hand drawn, handcrafted. So, this is not something that we're doing with AI or anything like that. There's a real illustrator artist meticulously crafting the things that we need to then be able to make these variations. Then we have some software that we developed that is a combination of algorithms and kind of different workflows and processes that we developed that allows us to then take that artwork that's been put together in a particular way and generate basically an unlimited number of variations. So you can almost think of it as like remixing music, as we're talking about music, where you start with the initial track and a bunch of instruments, in this case, a bunch of different elements in the artwork. And then we're able to create lots of different remixes and combinations of all those elements to create a bunch of different variations. And so with this new Wu-Tang project, which actually, to be clear, it's Mathematics who actually created the Wu-Tang logo, and has been, the DJ and producer for the band for quite a while. It's actually his record featuring all 9 members. So it's Mathematics times Wu-Tang, but it's him. It's his record. He put it all together. He's the one that created all the music, and then he brought all 9 living members of the Wu-Tang Clan together to create the record. So it's the first time they've been together on a single album, and it's actually a double album, but in a single release in years. I think it might be 2008. I might have that wrong, but it's been a long time since they've all been together.
This is like vinyl only, correct?
It's not vinyl only, but the release that we're doing.
I'm assuming they'll have digital.
Yeah, so the Mixprint release is vinyl, and it is vinyl only. And then we are actually doing more than just Mixprint with them, but the first thing to really be excited about is this vinyl release. There's 5,000 and 5,000 only of these that are being produced. So very collectible, very limited edition. And the cool thing about this Mixprint process, like we said, every single album cover, and it's actually a double album, so you're not even seeing like the back cover also is unique. The whole thing opens up. It's incredible. It's kind of gorgeous package that we've been able to put together. Audio file quality, sound recording, very high end vinyl, like the thick good stuff for the vinyl itself. So it's a really upscale package. These will be sold at Record Store Day, which is coming up, I believe, April 12th. So it's a Record Store Day exclusive vinyl release, 1 of 5,000, unique variant covers. I will give you a little alpha, which I don't think has really been publicized. We also included a poster in the album of a different variation of the artwork. So you'll get one piece of the artwork for the cover, and then you'll get another variation for the poster as a bonus, kind of bonus cool thing inside.
Is that, now my question there is that a separate poster, or is that something that the vinyl slides into?
No, so it is a separate poster. It's designed to be, frameable, hangable, whatever you want to do with it. What I'm really curious about, this is what I hope people will try to figure out is, so it's the same set of 5,000 pieces of artwork that we printed for the record covers and for the posters, but they're not being matched up intentionally. So we wanted people to get 2 separate variations. But that means the game is, can you find the matching set? And I'm really hopeful that some people will take that challenge on through social media and places to try to match them.
That was going to be some of the things I kind of wanted to talk about. Was, you covered a lot of it. One was, how many are going to be printed. I thought it was going to be something like 2,000, but 5,000 is even better.
Yeah.
I know with Mixprint, you just broke it down, but I think I love the way you used to always say it, and it's right there on the screen, is the 1 of 1 of X.
Yeah.
which could be, whatever. I want to say infinity, but so with what you just said, it's the same artwork, but it's not matched up. Is that 5,000 different ones?
Yeah, so basically imagine there's a set of 5,000 images. They've been so it's the same 5,000.
Perfect, but it's the cover and the poster.
Yeah, so it is theoretically possible to find the matching pair. Yes, you could find the matching pair. I hope people will go on that treasure hunt, but they are intentionally separated so that you get a sense of kind of the variety of the images.
Yeah. What are the odds that one accidentally lands with its pair, or I guess two?
I mean, that would be incredible. I haven't done that calculation, but it is possible. It is certainly possible, but it is not particularly likely.
Yes. No, but I just wanted to kind of like break it down, because just so everybody knows that these are all different. 5,000 all different. And then I was curious as well. I was trying to explain the process to someone the other day, and obviously, like, we haven't, broken down exactly precisely how you guys.
Yeah, we're not going to. But,
correct. But so can you at least explain like what makes it so hard for other people?
Yeah.
To be able to do like why couldn't you do this before? Like, what was the big hang up with the printing?
Well, there's three things that make it challenging, and these are, I think this is becoming more and more of our kind of unique superpower as a company is, finding these things that are hard to do and then figuring out how to do them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's kind of three pieces to it. So especially, I mean, we've done a handful of projects now in the Mixprint line. We've done comics. We did a Cypress Hill thing, was actually the first Mixprint project, which is a program for their concert with the London Symphony Orchestra. We've now done 5 different comic covers with a bunch more coming out this year over the course of the year as well. And then now this vinyl release, and this has been, so well received already. It's not even out yet that we're having lots of really interesting conversations in, other parts of music and other stuff that we could do kind of along these lines, which is, I think, going to get to be a pretty rapid expansion, especially on the music side, just because it's such a perfect use case for, collectible vinyl and being able to do something like this. So there's really 3 components to answer your question. There's the way that we create the artwork, which is not really a technology, but it's a methodology. It's a way of approaching how to actually put all the pieces together. One of the things that we did solve, which I don't want to give a ton of detail about, but there was a way that anything that had been similar to this in the past was actually generated in a particular way that you could use those files for print. So, one thing to note, print files have to be much higher resolution, much higher quality, bigger than something that's going to be released digitally. So, when you've seen generative art in the past, it's largely been digital because the way that you could create it was much easier to accomplish with smaller files, with fewer elements and layers. But the stuff that we're doing now, like, these are monstrous files. Some of the, I think this file before we started creating any of the variations was close to 40 gigabytes. It's like a gigantic file with all these pieces and elements. Everything has to be perfectly organized and fine-tuned to work together properly. One of the things that we try to do with these is we try not to have very many subsets of things. We really try to design it and build it so that every piece works with every piece as much as possible, so that you really get this almost endless remixing of elements. And one of the most fun things for me, as a quick side note, is as we go through and create all the variations, this has happened on every project, where we'll get a pretty small subset, which we never expected were possible. Get some that come out that we're like, whoa, like, and sometimes they're like, oh, that's terrible, throw that one out.
Yeah.
But there's probably 20 or 30 of these, which really surprised me, as like I didn't know we could get that effect or that combination out of this mix of elements. And so there are some really special ones in here, which are, you know, not only look cool, but are like totally distinct from the rest of the collection. So it's the artistic process and piece of it, which I think we've now very much fine-tuned. Then there's a middle, you can almost think of it as like a middleware piece, which is a way that we set the file up. So you get this 40 gigabyte file. It's a very particular way that we set it up and format everything ahead of creating any generations to make sure that we're going to get good generations. We do a lot of testing along the way. So there's always like, you know, we're starting with, you know, 20 at a time, 10 at a time, fine tuning the way that things are mixing together. And then once we get that dialed in, then we run them in batches, and then we review every single one to throw out the ones that are, you know, not as good, to make sure we got a good mix of different elements and treatments. You know, we want to create as much variety as possible. And then we get that magic moment, those magic moments of going like, whoa, that's really cool. And then, you know, in some cases we go back and we fine tune things on the art side. So as we're kind of getting to the point where it's kind of just running the variations, there's a lot of, you know, kind of creative fine tuning. And then we built some software that, you know, is very bespoke and specific for, you know, doing this exact thing. And we continue to refine that with every project. So every time we do another project, it gets better, more powerful, more robust. We can do more with it. And then the big bottleneck, which, you know, was almost impossible to solve, and really the thing that prevented this from being possible, is we've developed a pretty incredible relationship with a couple of different printing partners. And they, you know, before this process, before us kind of figuring all this out, like you would have had to spend, you know, $20 to $50 per print, you know, to get a single print. And that wouldn't have been even at, you know, offset press quality. Like it wouldn't look like a fully commercial print. It would look more like it came off of the copy machine at Kinko's, or, you know, high quality, you know, color print. Yeah. So all those pieces had to be figured out where we could do this at a scale that was economically feasible. If you're going to sell a comic for, you know, even $10, it can't cost, you know, $8 to print it. So, you know, those were the things that we had to solve. And now that they're solved, you know, this is kind of, you know, for us, kind of infinitely scalable. So there's a lot of really interesting opportunities, you know, certainly on the comic side, definitely on the music side. And then, you know, you can kind of let your mind wander as to where other types of, you know, collectible printed material could be really interesting. And it's a pretty big list of,
we opened a little rabbit hole in the past, you know, like all kinds of merch and different things that I could like start banging off. And, you know, I could, you know, like it gets me excited too, because you know, like I don't know, but you know, like I know what can come in the future. So
I'm gonna try something here, just because I want to brag about the artwork for a second. Like, I don't usually do this, but this is, I mean, I like to believe we make really high quality, good stuff in general, but Stephen Perkins, who some people may recognize as the artist for Dead Town, one of our earliest comic series, and, you know, some of the projects that we've done, and part of how we know each other is from Dead Town projects and beyond. But the artist for that series is the artist for this cover. He's also our head of production. Incredibly talented illustrator. I love everything he's ever done. That's why we brought him on board, you know, as soon as we met him. But he has really outdone himself here. I'm gonna share, like, this is some of the variations just without any of the logo treatments or, you know, cover dress. Can you see this? Let's see what's showing up. Let me try to make this.
Oh, it was up. Now it's
I'm gonna make it full screen. So, all right, can you see it?
I can see it.
All right, so this is.
Else can see it.
I'm just gonna click through a few of these, and hopefully they'll, you know, come through clearly enough. You know what? Let's not do the Photoshop files. That's gonna be way too big. Let me go to the lower res preview images. So yeah, here we go. But they're just absolutely gorgeous. Like,
now so would that fold in half?
Yeah, so this is the full open album cover, the double album cover. So there's a spine, down the middle, which has the name on it and stuff. And so if you open it up, this is the full image. But I mean,
look at that. Yeah.
Truly, like, he just knocked it out of the park. And so, you can get a sense as I go through these. It's like, you can see a bunch of, different elements, again, sort of being remixed in different ways. This is one of the ones that I didn't really expect. Yeah. I was like,
it's almost like not infrared, but like a night vision effect.
Yeah, exactly. That's another kind of cool one that's a little unusual. Cool. So just these different kind of vibes. This is more kind of old movie poster, kind of feel to it. It's different environments, different effects. That's another one that I didn't really expect. I think is really cool. You've got ninjas and undead ninjas and different types of dragons and flaming eagles and spirit eagles, regular eagles, and he took some some of the ideas with so much of Wu-Tang being about kung fu movies and old classic blaxploitation movies, and so you got some of those elements in here, and like the different kung fu styles, like tiger style and manta style and tiger style, like those are all kind of reference points in here. But you get a sense of it, so it's like they're very clearly related. There's no question they're all from the same collection, same album, but again, every single one is a little different. And so I think it's so fun to
collect them all.
Collect them all. Like that one, I think is really cool. They're all really cool. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. And I think, the thing I keep coming back to, and I'm just thrilled to see as this continues to roll out in different places, is as people start to understand what this is, we talked about this in relation to comics previously. Think about going into, the record store for Record Store Day. You're looking for this record. They might have 5 of these, and every single one of them is unique. It's going to be hard to just leave with one.
The cool thing with this, because for my first experience with mixed print, it was blind polybagged.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to like really choose what I wanted. Just grab several and it's good luck. These you get to see like what's there. You get to pick which one you want.
Yep. Well, and that's what I think is going to be fun as we do more of these types of projects, is that people will, I think, start to understand that there's some real value in getting there early. Making sure that you can have the widest range of options.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I think this would be cool for the project, but sad for collectors is, I know there will be some people that will just go like, well, let me go get all of these and then go, put them on eBay or whatever. So,
kind of what I was going to say too is it's almost like an internal battle for me. Like, I want to tell everybody to like, just go grab them all, get as many as you can get. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I want everybody to get one.
Exactly. It is a war of things in my own mind about that too, where it's like, we want this to be successful. We want it to do well for Math, for Wu-Tang, for Virgin Records is distributing it. So like, we want to have everyone that's involved to do well with it, and we also want as many people as possible to be able to experience it. And of course, we're doing the packaging and the album artwork, so very proud of that. But I will also say, like, having heard the record, like, it is spectacularly good.
Yeah.
It makes me even happier that we're not just doing a cool thing in a cool package, but that it is warranted for Wu-Tang fans and mathematics fans to be excited about what's actually in the package.
So, and we were talking for just a couple seconds before we came on, but I will definitely say from socials, and I know obviously once you like something and share it and stuff, I mean you're in the matrix and you're gonna see it more often. But for my general feed, it's not typically hip hop and rap and vinyls and man, they are driving this. I mean, like I see from every angle, music fans, hip hop fans. You know, I see people talking about Wu-Tang back together for the first time in so long.
Totally.
So I mean, it's almost legendary before it's even dropped. Before so, you know,
well, it's a big deal. I mean, hopefully there are, Wu-Tang fans out there watching this stream, but it's like they're definitely among the greatest of all time, and certainly legendary. I think we were talking about as we were putting some of this together. It's like the iconography, the aesthetic, like even the Wu-Tang logo is just like, what other logos in hip hop can you name that are just like iconic, like the Nike. Yeah. The Nike swoosh of hip hop. It's pretty incredible. So for this to be our first, vinyl release and our first music release is incredibly exciting, very humbling, very happy to be a part of the team that's doing it. And to your point, like, really all the credit for the PR push goes to mathematics and Wu-Tang and their team, because they've just been really excited about promoting it. And then the other fun thing for us is, when we first made this deal, and as I said, Virgin Records is distributing it for us. When we first made the deal, like they were like, yeah, it sounds cool, like multiple covers, like neat. And then when we showed them some of the preview artwork, they were like, oh, like we thought like there'd be a blue one and a yellow one, and so they got really excited about it too. And so it's, they're kind of pushing it as one of the main, record store day attractions, which, it's only right. But
well, and I think too, like just the same as everything else, I think once they're in people's hands, same as I was with the comics, to see the quality and the texture and the print and feel it and see it, like, there's a big difference in the mixed print cover versus the standard paper cover. I mean, I was taken back, and I think that's what's going to happen. They already love the images, but wait till they're holding it with,
it's a nice package. Actually, this is, I can show you this. This is as we were working with the printer on assembling this. So this is not one of the actual variations. This is a early version of actually based on one of the sketches that Steven did just for the layout. But it's a very nice production value for all this stuff. And it doesn't have the mix on the inside. It has a another piece of illustration and titles and track lists and all that. But it's a very nice package, and we've really gone all in on high production value for the covers, but also the vinyl and all the different pieces of it. So I do think you'd be happy.
You know what I absolutely love about it, man, is I already know it. I'm assuming it's going to be stamped Macroverse mixed print.
It has a mixed print logo on it. It does.
And, so I mean, how cool is that? You know,
it is very cool, I must say. So switching gears for just a second. So I mentioned before we jumped on here, there's a FedEx delivery that was supposed to arrive for me today, which did. Then they didn't ring the doorbell, so I missed it, and they didn't leave it. So apparently it has to be signed for. So I can't quite show everybody what that is, which I was planning on doing. But what I can show, which also has arrived since the last time we streamed, is our final print samples for authentic editions.
Yes.
So this is actually a raw signature off.
What's that? Can you hide me so we can see that bigger?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Let me hide you. We'll trade. Yeah. So, this is, again, just something, could not be happier with how this has come out. So this is a raw, what's called a signature off of the press. So, but it's before it's been trimmed and cropped. So it's actually this full sheet. It's on the right paper. It smells like it's supposed to smell.
Oh man, how excited.
I mean, if you can see this at all, it's just so freaking dope. It's like everything we hoped it would be and more.
I was at the shop the other day. In the last several days, I've had probably 3 or 4 different EC like reprints or facsimiles, whatever you want to call them, and they were so underwhelming and disappointing, and it got me so excited for these things to come. Like, because I know they should be out anytime, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And then I also, we'll come back to that, but I think, like, man, having held the the kind of glossy paper, and they still kind of use the dots.
Yeah, sort of. They've been like, color for the most part. But
it's so weird. Yeah, no, I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't work right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've said this before, but it's like, this is in both of these cases, with what's happening with mixed print, with what's happening with authentic editions. It's like, this is one of the things over the course of my life and career that has exceeded our hopes and expectations at every stage. So it just does make me very excited to get it into people's hands.
It's crazy to me how popular and relevant people, like, especially on like what I do with collecting and everything and buying and selling on Facebook, how many people are still searching, like search of pre-code horror, EC, reprint, anything that they can get their hands on. And I'm thinking, you missed like the biggest opportunity in the world. So I can't wait for like those people, even the people, like I'm saying, like even the people that didn't get them, to see the ones that the people did get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So just, I'll give a quick update on timing, where we are with that. So we've had a couple of setbacks on actually getting scheduled for the press, which is why we're just now getting these final samples. We've had to order more paper, because it turns out we needed more paper to actually be able to print more runs. So that's another kind of unfortunate slight delay. So we're probably 2 weeks from being able to actually schedule the time on press with enough paper to do the full print run. At that point, they'll all get printed. They'll get sent to the fulfillment place. They'll all get put together into their beautiful packages, and then they'll ship out from there. So, at this point, like, we're realistically, people will start to get them in their hands probably about 4 weeks from now.
No, my big question is, and I know the answer to some of these. Yeah. For the variants anyway. Yeah. But for the original runs, what's the quality difference like on the covers versus old covers? Yeah,
old covers. So honestly, the last thing, I'll spoil it. What was supposed to be delivered today. So that was the interior final print run. And what we're supposed to get today is 2 different cover stocks that we are testing for what the final cover stock is going to be. And so I'll share that next week with those samples. Yeah. Essentially, there's 2 different ones that we're torn between. And so we are kind of debating, do we go fully in on, what it would have been in the 50s, or do we upgrade it slightly?
So that's what I was, I went with just the frightening 15 or whatever. And I felt like if I couldn't get them all,
Yeah.
I have the closest to the
I
original.
think it's the right choice. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm hoping that it's a thinner style, more like the paper stock paper that's on the old books.
Yeah.
But I know, thinking of what the variants are, that those are going to have to be thicker.
Yeah, the variants are going to be like the foils going to be foils.
Yeah.
The fluorescent's going to have to be on a thicker stock that supports the fluorescent ink. So those will definitely have some variability to them. And even with the two that we're kind of making the final call on, neither of them is just like, oh, this is what a modern, cover stock is. Like that would be too easy. So, we're kind of stuck between just pretty minor difference, but enough of a difference to make sure that we could see it and feel it and really compare the two. But I think, that is what we're after, is not necessarily less concerned necessarily with the thinness of it or the thickness of it, but just capturing the feel and the look. And so, I do think, we'll make this final determination, but one of the ones that I know we're looking at is, a uncoated stock, which is more like what they would have been in the golden age, versus it's not the same as modern comics, but a slightly more coated stock, which is getting a little more, not high finish. It's like it's still kind of a matte finish, but it's not like glossy, like like something you would go find from today, but it's kind of a little bit of a middle ground. So, we just want to compare and then try to make the best choice that fits for the entire collection.
And that's what I saw on the reprints that I saw the other day. They were that like high finish, super glossy. Even the pages inside were like that glossy, high, shiny material. But it's like they tried to like put the the old effect into. I don't know how to explain it, but
it's it's a mismatch of technique and material is the way that I would say it. So I think facsimile editions have become a pretty big part of the comics industry, and it's we're glad that it has, because it's opened the door. It's going to do something unique here. But most facsimiles have been recolored, and in many cases even redrawn. Like it's been really interesting working on some of the Archie stuff, in that even the cover to Archie #1, if you compare our cover that will come out with the authentic edition versus the facsimile that Archie themselves sells, it has been traced over. So like the line art is not exactly the same. There are some missing lines on Archie's shirt. There's some missing lines on the ice that he's skating. It is actually kind of weird, quite honestly. So it's like, if you're gonna trace it, why would you not trace every detail as much as you possibly could? So they've there's some editorializing that's been done in the tracing or recreation of the line art. And then the color art is just drastically different. And it's I mean, to me, it's like it's mostly this kind of flat color approach, as opposed to even these older books, like the covers in particular were pretty sophisticated in the way that they were, painted and colored. And the interiors, as we've talked about many times, like, they were printed in this way of combining basically the four colors, CMYK printing dots to create every other color. So if you have purple, it's not blending those colors together, it's overlaying red dots and blue dots to create a purple coloration effect. And so that is just a lost art. And when they create modern facsimiles, they usually are kind of flat color, and they'll match kind of the general hue, but it's such a different effect, because I think you look at something like this, if you're just objectively looking, like, this is yellow, light blue, and dark blue, but it somehow reads for us like a night scene. Like, you can kind of see the light of the flashlight feeling like it's illuminating the figures. And so there's a real illusion created by the type of coloring, the paper stock. Like, it really, it translates to our eyes as something that feels very naturalistic, even though it is literally dark blue, light blue, very,
Well,
very simple.
I guess the way I could best describe like what I saw on the facsimile in the store was it's like they took that and
Yeah.
like photocopied it. So it still has the dots and everything, but
Interesting.
the color's like weird. It just doesn't it doesn't look right,
Yeah. Well, I think part of that, like I started saying, is it's a mismatch of technique and material, because I think this looks so perfect because it was made that way to create a specific effect because of the nature of the technology. And I would say, to go the opposite way, if you look at the best modern comics where they really are beautifully colored and they're, created with computers, and they're, not the artwork, not necessarily created with computers. Most of the coloring is done on computer, and they can get all these effects and much more intricate, gradients and much more naturalistic, color palettes in many cases. So there's some astonishingly talented colorists working in, modern comics. That would not look good printed on this newsprint paper. It would look terrible. And so, as they really, the upgrade in paper, the change in paper coincided with computer coloring becoming the norm in the industry, because you couldn't then capture the technique that was being applied on screen to create this, very new approach to creating color work on the old paper. So they had to upgrade to glossier paper. But now you go the other way and you're like, let's take these old techniques and put them on glossy paper, just the way that modern color wouldn't look good on newsprint. The old color doesn't look good on the glossy paper. And so it's I think it back to the original point. It's the combination of the correct technique with the correct materials is really what gives us this kind of dramatically different result. Very cool. Well, welcome to my TED Talk. Thank you for attending.
I am thoroughly excited about that, and we will still have I'll make sure that like I said, I either I'm not going to have the biggest package, but I'll make sure that I either open it live or video myself. It's going to be tough if I'm like get it on a Friday or something and have to wait 6 days.
We'll do a special stream to do it live. We gotta do it live. I want to see your reaction.
I also saw on the updates that the Von Dingles will be shipping out.
Yes, we have a fully finished version of the Von Dingles graphic novel. We're making a few tweaks for the pre-press files, but actually Harv and the gang from Stupid Buddy Studios have a few copies in hand at this point and are sharing it with some friends and associates.
Yeah. I feel like I might have I don't know if it was like on the email or on a Kickstarter update or something, but I feel like it showed just a picture of like the graphic novel, like in its full, and I was like, oh my god, I feel like it's another one. I forgot about it. To be honest.
Well, that one's been a long time coming. I mean, with this other stuff, we generally have everything. We've moved to kind of having everything in place for the most part before we started the campaign. And with Von Dingles, we really didn't. We had a few pages of artwork done. We kind of knew what the story was going to be.
Yeah.
We helped them launch that campaign, and then we had to make the whole book. So here we are, finally having completed it. So it came out great. Like, I also cannot wait for people to get that.
That's another one. It looked super clean from the picture, and I'm super excited to get that one in my hand and see what the response is on that. I think the other things that I wanted to talk about, and I actually, this was off topic. This is kind of going backwards, but talking about mixed print, and you were talking about developing technology and stuff like that. And for anybody watching now that doesn't know kind of like where Macroverse came from, 2 years ago or whatever, 6 years, 10 years, whatever, let's say 2 years ago, for instance, it was definitely more Web3 based. and you're doing the same thing. You're creating your own technology for NFTs, and change the game there as well. But are you still using the same development team as the Web3 side, or?
Yeah. So not really. So we've kind of rebuilt a big chunk of how we're approaching things. Some of that has come with some changing of the underlying technology that we're using, which has necessitated bringing in some new developers. And so, I think we have talked about it in the past, and actually to flesh that out a little bit, it's like where we actually started was with our mobile app. And so the first thing that we launched was a traditional iOS and Android app that is still out there live on the app stores. So we've got about 1,000 episodes of comics content that we created or that we brought onto the platform on the mobile app. And then in the pandemic, like so many people, we found ourselves kind of learning about these concepts for Web3, for NFTs, for kind of what the potential for digital collectability and ownership was. And for me, that was particularly interesting because actually going back almost 10 years, my very first pitch deck for, at that point, what I was calling Comics 2.0, which became Macroverse, my very first pitch deck has a whole section dedicated to digital collectibles. I just didn't know how that would ever be possible.
Yeah.
And so that was the part of it that got us so excited is, we want to build kind of a next generation, not just of what a comic is, but as a comic collector, as someone that's been buying and collecting comics, my whole life. The idea that we could do things in the digital world that would be unique in the way that you could experience a comic digitally, because we also created a whole format for digital comics called a tap story. And so we got very wedded to trying to innovate the reading experience on the digital side, which means you can't do what you could do in physical print on the digital side to create this new reading experience, but you couldn't do collectibles on the digital side because we didn't think there was any way to do that. And so that's what got us initially so excited, is being able to bring some form of true digital collectability, digital ownership, to comics and other media. So we chased that rabbit for, a couple of years. We launched a few projects. We developed some really interesting technology, and I think did some innovation that, no sour grapes, but I think a little bit underappreciated in some circles. But I think, for us, it was never about trying to chase, the quote unquote kind of crypto side of things. And it was really more about what does this create as a consumer experience for collectors, for creators? How could this empower people as fans to become more connected to the things that they're getting? Around that time, we also saw Comixology, which at that point was the biggest digital, platform for comics. In that general era, they had gotten bought by Amazon. And then in this kind of classic horror story for digital things, Amazon decided, well, we're not going to keep them around anymore. We're going to absorb everything into Kindle. And all the downloads that people had on Comixology, you had a very small amount of time to download them all as PDFs and save them, or they'll just be gone forever. And I just hate that. I think there's got to be a way to, if you buy something digitally, you should have control of it. Like whatever you want to call it, you should have ownership of it. You should have control of it. It should be your thing. You bought it.
Yeah.
So that's been the nut that we've been trying to crack. And I think, the big realization for us in 2024, and then very much kind of the payoff of all of that here in 2025 is rethinking how we were approaching all that, because we fell down that rabbit hole and I think tried to approach it more from the Web3 side. Like we got we really got invested in some of the ethos and the concepts about, again, digital ownership, having more control over your own digital experience, the unfortunately, I think at this point, utopian vision about, having control over your own data and, those kinds of things. And so we really, tried to go in that direction, and it just really didn't work. And so we had to kind of rethink it. And I think now coming at it from the other direction really does feel like it's working. We're starting to see traction around all of this. And so being able to say now, bringing the physical and digital worlds together, with some things that are going to come this summer, where it's not about the crypto side of it at all, but it's about technology that enables that experience that I wanted 10 years ago, being able to have true digital ownership in a way that's not exploitive, that's not about, the pump and dump of anything. It's not about trying to get prices to go up. It's just purely about, you like this thing, you've got a physical version of it, you could also have a digital version of it, and you can own that thing. And so I think
actually own the digital.
Yeah, and so there's some experiences that we're creating around that. We've really approached it in a radically different way. So I think as people start to see this summer, it's very seamless. It's very easy. You don't need things like a wallet or anything else to be able to participate. It's a very familiar kind of experience. And so, the team that we've, been able to bring on board to help build that, they really saw what we were trying to do. They had the skills to do it. And, we're excited to, help realize that. So it's a different team that we're working with. And I think ultimately the whole platform is better for it. And then at the end of this current cycle, we'll be launching the next generation of the platform side of things this summer. With some baby steps along the way. So as we've said for a few times, if you're an early adopter kind of person, definitely reach out to me, and we'll start to have some early access for people that want to get in and kick the tires and don't mind running into bugs and those kinds of things. But as this rolls out of the summer, the vision for the next 12 months or so on the platform side is a lot of expansion into different types of experiences around comics, and then broader into media and fandom as a whole. And then beyond that, into some things that you could actually do as a creator, as a publisher, as a fan, in ways that we haven't seen happen before. And so, being like, we're really focused at this point as Diamond is kind of going out of business and the retail landscape for comics is changing. Like, this is the moment to innovate, to build some things that haven't existed, to help the industry move forward, to create tools for every segment, for fans, for creators, for retailers, for publishers, and to, bring those things together into a more cohesive ecosystem. And we think we figured out some ways to do that where it really is win-win for all of those cohorts. It's, it's not taking stuff away from the retailers that are so important to this business. It's not taking things away from publishers. It's, just empowering kind of each of those segments to be able to work more closely together. So it's a lot of not specifics, but the vision is very strong. It's pretty concrete at this point. We've got a whole roadmap of milestones that we're working on throughout the rest of this year and beyond. And you'll get kind of the very first taste of it over the next several months, and then some pretty rapid evolution of it from there.
Yeah, I don't honestly know like where that came from. I just feel like going back to the Web3 stuff, the development team then was mind blowing to me with the stuff that they created.
They were doing amazing stuff. And,
still with what's being created now, it's just it takes some it's innovating. I mean, it takes out of the and stuff, and so it's just, for me, like, I love to give recognition where where it's due. So I mean, to me, it's mind blowing that you guys can just say, "Oh, we have a problem. Let's
solve it."
Let's just build it.
I mean, it does get back to, so even though we're working with a different set of developers at this point, it is the team. Like, it's like I really, I think I have two superpowers. My two superpowers are say yes and figure it out, which is, my whole career. And so that's fundamental to kind of all this stuff. And then the second thing is, I think I'm very good at connecting dots and kind of figuring out a unique spot to try to, kind of wedge into, or to start in a place to then iterate from. And so I think, for me, like, those are the two things I really kind of bring to the party. And then the rest of it is we've just, we've been able to, over the last few years, really bring together just an incredible team of people, not just on the technology side, although they've, the team that we worked with before was great. The team that we have now is great. But the whole, core of Macroverse at this point, we have cover every media segment that you could, shake a stick at. The two most recent kind of major additions, one is been in publishing for 25 years. Adam Fortier is just, knows everyone in the comics industry, was employee number 2 at Boom Studios, helped build the first person to license Transformers for comics, like just has this incredible, resume, and not just knows everyone, but is also very innovative in the field. Like, it's Authentic Editions really his brainchild. So like when we met him, he brought that to us and had been trying to do it for a while. And, I think we were the first ones that were like, let's do it.
And thank God you did, man. Cause I don't know. I mean, for people like myself that collect and love the older, stuff. I mean, just to have that, to be able to bring back the nostalgia of it and, not have to worry. I mean, a lot of the books that I want, they're like we talked about previously. I mean, $8, $10, $20, $30,000. I just won't get it. So, I mean, like I'm grateful because I know for me, it's going to put a lot of books in my hand that are probably better than I would have got for, outright.
That is part of it. I mean, we've talked about this before, but part of what I get such a kick out of is that I do feel like Authentic Editions is like part commercial enterprise, part love letter to comics, and part kind of weird art projects, like almost like a library museum type of art project where we're bringing these things back into the world for a lot more people to experience than have ever been able to. Suspense number 3, which is kind of the crown jewel of the Pre-Code Horror Collection. I think there are about 40 copies that are known to exist in, any form of the collector's world. So like 40 graded copies that are known to exist. And so to be able to go, hey, anyone can now experience what this is like. And the crazy thing, we talked about this before, but it's like, even those 40 graded copies, one just sold at auction for over $100,000. That person is not reading that book. Like that is sitting in a plastic case, never being opened, never being touched. Many people will never even know what the stories are.
This is what really blows my mind about a lot of the slabbed books. And, I'm a collector, like I go back and forth all the time with people about raw collectors and slab collectors. And man, we're some hard-headed people, us collectors. But
as nerds,
it blows my mind that because of the fact that light can damage books, even in those plexis, people will take it not only and lock it up in the plexi, but then they're gonna lock it up in like a lockbox where you can't even. They don't hang it up. They don't display it because they don't want it to get any more damaged.
Well, I mean, it's such. I mean, comics are such an interesting thing because there's so many aspects to it. It's it's art. It's collectible. It's an asset. It's an investment asset for some people. Like, I mean, it really is so many different parts of collectibles in general, comics in particular. And so for some of those people that are buying those high end, like the high end collectible versions of it, it is no different than someone that collects a Warhol. You're never hanging that on your wall. You're sticking it there and letting it appreciate in value, and either keeping it because you just want to have it in your dragon's hoard of treasure, or holding on to it for a certain period of time and then reselling it. And so there is a certain level of collector which is not really looking at it as like, I want to get this and read it. They're looking at it as like, this is a valuable asset that either I can afford to hoard or I'm going to flip at some point. And so I think, that's a perfectly valid and cool part of it as well. But all the more reason to be able to say, let that, and this is what I kind of love about it. Like nothing we're doing interrupts that. Like, I think if anything,
Yeah.
it make the values of those things even.
Well, that's what I love is the fact that
so
you say there's 40 copies, but maybe 10 of those are in a box or a filing cabinet or something. Where
40 of them are CGC. That's how we know there are 40 of them. So,
but even out of those 40, probably half of those are like even displayed. None of them will be opened.
Oh yeah, none of them.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you're not going to read these things. So to be able to go back and get the pages and the stories and see between the covers.
Well, like I was saying, it's like I think most people recognize some of these iconic covers, but even in doing the Kickstarters for both Precode and Archie, you go like, okay, first appearance of Archie, Pep 22. Maybe you've seen the page that Archie appeared on in a Google search,
Right?
But there's 63 other pages in that book. Right. That people don't know what those stories are. They don't know what the content is. They don't know who the other characters are.
Yeah.
So, it's like, and that is a reason why facsimiles, I think, have become, a bigger and bigger part of the industry, is that it is giving people access to those things. But, I think, for what we're doing to be able to bring it up a notch in quality, number one, and then number two, like, everyone else is cherry picking the kind of the big, moments, the first appearances, your, biggest sellers, the keys. And so a big part of what we are trying to do is create full runs so that for those people that really do want to have an entire Archie collection, over the next multiple years, you'll be able to get that from us. And that's, one of the things that I think is exciting about it too. It's like, every one of these shelves should be full of authentic editions. If,
yes,
if I have anything to say about it.
I know we're kind of cutting down on time. I hate that we missed so much time in between from the last one, because we didn't get to talk much about the Wu-Tang stuff. It's just kind of like, boom, here it is. This is happening.
Yeah, well, kind of perfect. I mean, we wouldn't have had much more to say about it other than we're doing something cool, and I love that we can actually show it now, and it's been
I mean, it works out, but I've been thinking about it because I've been seeing it on socials and stuff, and I've just been dying to like talk about it. But we know that's coming. We know all the what's next.
So what's next? Definitely. I mean, I don't think you're spilling any beans here to say, more music stuff definitely coming. Lots of conversations happening there. More authentic editions definitely coming. We're actually we're actually challenged in a good way with authentic editions at the moment, in that we know we'll do at least 4 more major releases in 2025. What the next one will be is actually a little bit up in the air, pending a couple of things falling into place. So we're basically between 4 things that it could be. And it all just depends on what happens over the next couple of weeks as to which one it will be. All of them are very exciting, and all of them will happen.
Now, will all of them happen? They just
all of them will happen. It just depends on what the order is. So I think very exciting stuff coming there. Yeah. And then the other thing, which I will mention, if anyone is watching this that has participated in the Authentic Editions campaign, one thing we did going from Precode Horror to Archie is offer a exclusive additional book for people that participated in both campaigns. And it is important to me that we really reward the people that, support the things that we're doing. And so there will be more of that between these different projects. So, the more you participate, the more we're going to, find ways to give you extra stuff and cool stuff. And then when the platform launches, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll be able to do once all those pieces come into place. So, as you get more from Macroverse, we will promise that we will give more back. So that is core to how we're building all this.
And I will definitely say, in my experience with Macroverse and the team and collecting, that has always been my experiences. Everything that I've collected has tied into something else, and it's just I feel like you guys all about giving back and just helping creators and collect everybody. I mean, it's what I love the most. Is it's more about the passion than I don't want to say than making money, because that obviously you want to make a lot of money, but
well, we want to do a lot of stuff, and for better or worse, it requires resources to do those things.
I feel like you guys have definitely taken a lot of the greed and just the downside out of it, and it's great to see. And I'm looking forward to once the full desktop site's up and running, like how that'll tie in with creators and everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I mean, I think this has been my passion project in everything from the earliest germs of the idea through these different iterations over the past few years for well over a decade at this point. And it's like there is nothing else I would rather be doing. There's nothing else I'd rather be solving. And in a world where the only way to fail is to quit, it seems inevitable that we won't fail. So there's certainly no quitting.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun to get to work on this stuff. It's a lot of fun to get to meet people like yourself and other people in the community. And as a way of segueing into wrapping up, where should people connect with you out in the wider world?
Discord's always my favorite, because you're going to have access to me and everyone else as well. Plus, I'm very quick to respond on there. Otherwise, any socials, Tiny Universe, Secret Agent Tiny, something of the sort.
Something along those lines. Very good. For me, you can certainly ping me at Discord. I will admit, if you tag me in Discord, I'll definitely see it, and I'm more than happy to connect with people there. I haven't been as present in Discord as of the last few months, and largely that's just from being unbelievably busy.
I think that's all of us.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely all of us, but for anyone that is looking for me, it's not a intentional snub in any way. It is just literally, we need another day in the week. So if you can help me out with that, then let's definitely talk. I also think, I'll throw this out to anyone watching to leave it in the comments or to come in Discord and connect. I'm not sure Discord is really ultimately the best place for what we're building at this point, and it's not a reflection on not a reflection on the community, because the community is amazing. Like the friendships and the connections that we made there are irreplaceable, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I don't think there's a really good substitute at the moment either. So it's not like, hey, we're leaving Discord and going over here.
Yeah.
We're not leaving Discord. We're not shutting down the Discord, but it doesn't feel like it's quite the right thing for where all of this is headed. And I don't have the right solution at the moment. So if anyone has a suggestion into what that might be before we get to the point where we just have to build it ourselves once again.
Oh no! I was just thinking in my head. I was literally like, the gears were going, and I'm like, I can't think of where like a good place would be to house everybody. For everybody to be able to hang out and do things that we like to do as a community. You may have to build it.
We may have to build it. I mean, this has been answered multiple times, so we'll see. But if anybody does have any suggestions, places that you're vibing, that you're feeling like is a good place to connect with the people that are your supporters and fans, and people that you're doing stuff with. Weirdly, we use Basecamp for all of our project management, and I've been kind of wondering if maybe even setting up a Basecamp project might be a thing to try. So we might try that, because I guess just if anyone does give comments, the thing that I think what I'm finding is not useful about Discord at the moment is it's hard to find all the places where things are. And especially as we continue to have more things, we want to try to make it easier for fans to be able to come in and really connect around those particular projects or particular things. And then at the same time, like I feel like we could use a much more simplified way of just being able to connect as a group and chat about the things that are going on. So, I mean, I see people using Facebook groups again for that kind of stuff. So, you know,
I gotta say, I spend a lot of time in Facebook groups. So I am one of those people, and that may not be a bad idea, except for I know a lot of people are not using it like I am.
It is where comics seem to be the most active. So there is certainly that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Discord is not closing. I don't want anybody to be concerned that we're like shutting it down and disappearing. We'll certainly have it open. And, as Tiny said, he's there. I do check in at least once a day just to see what's going on. And if you ping me there,
yeah. I may not always be in there talking and having comments, but I guarantee you, if anybody posts anything in there or tries to do anything crazy, I'm watching you.
Oh yeah, I'm very aware of that as well. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. I'm gonna go get kids some food, and we're here on the West Coast. We're just getting into bedtime and all that.
Yep.
Great catching up with you. Glad you're alive and well. And
I'm glad to be out of bed and
definitely.
like doing something.
Yeah. No doubt. Oh, to wrap up the final piece, if you want to connect with what we're doing at Macroverse, macroverse.com, you'll see right now the Archie homepage is up, but we're getting ready for a homepage refresh, which will introduce some of the new stuff and it'll have a little more of a step towards some of what's coming. And then actually, if you're looking for information on Mixprint, we do have a dedicated Mixprint site called mixprint.xyz. And right now it's a pretty simple page, but you can also get on the Mixprint mailing list. So we are going to start doing more stuff on the mailing list side of things. So exclusive offers, early access, those kinds of things are going to be coming down the road for subscribers to the mailing list.
That's cool. I will say, if it's anything like the Kickstarter updates, that will be
exactly
be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. Very much inspired by that, and just a way to give people a very easy way to keep up to date with new stuff that's coming and stuff that is being worked on. And again, I love the idea of kind of we want everyone to be able to participate, but I love the idea that those who self-select further and further into the ecosystem, get more and more. So get on the newsletter, get on the app. And if you go to macroverse.com right now, actually, you'll also see a button in the upper right-hand corner where you can put your name on the wait list for early access. So definitely recommend that as well. That means you'll be able to get your username and, be among the first into the Macroverse when the site opens. Lots more coming. So at Macroverse on Twitter, at Macroverse HQ, just about everywhere else. Find us, say hi, and we got a lot more fun to come. And on that note, I am ending the stream.